Nvidia is releasing a brand new downgraded graphics card.
That's right.
Rumors of a Switch Pro. And, of course, some new Chromebooks from CES. All of this and more on the Tech Summit Podcast, episode 22.
Yes,
I'm
we're finally there.
Chris.
I'm Francisco.
And, of course, everyone, if you are watching on YouTube, we have the information and all that good stuff here at the bottom of the video. If you are listening on other podcast platforms, we have that stuff in the respective descriptions.
That's right. And with that said, I think we're ready to jump into our topics.
Yes, that's right. Although, before we do anything, I know you mentioned in a pinned comment, but we have to note that, of course, we film these things a day before the actual upload, again, showing how the sausage is made. And that can tend to lead to some issues, namely that our big subject last time was the Xbox Live price increase.
Yeah.
Only for just after we finished recording for it to come out that, they've changed back on that.
Yeah, they decided to take that back. So we were kind of forced to just leave that as a pinned comment. Apologies on that end. And yeah, these are unfortunately things that are going to be pretty difficult to avoid just considering our workflow. We just record things a day in advance. Not too much that we can do about it except for make corrections after the fact.
It was a very sudden sort of course correction from Microsoft. I mean, granted, we're happy that they did that.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that they also made all free-to-play games not tethered to Xbox Live Gold at all.
Yeah, that was also pretty sudden. They were, I guess they felt really bad.
They showed their to use some language. They showed their ass a little bit. And like it's clear that's something that they want to do, and they were testing the waters, and they realized, okay, can't implement this now. Let's slowly creep it in over time.
A very interesting thing about that too is that like oftentimes they might try to justify online play. Oh, like you should be paying for this because we have to sustain servers and stuff. But it's up to every single developer to have servers for their online games.
Yeah.
It's not up to Microsoft or Sony. So essentially, they're just charging you for permission to do that.
This, of course, also doesn't account for the fact that, servers are on PC perfectly fine despite not paying for the online there.
Right. You have never had to pay, unless you're playing like an MMO of sorts that does charge, because they have their own dedicated servers that
Right.
tend to be pretty expensive. But yeah, like besides that,
But of course, just wanted to sort of note that. And let's hope that we don't end up having between recording now and uploading tomorrow that NVIDIA comes out and says, no, second thought, never mind. But of course, what do we need to mind right now?
oh gosh, it's not going to be an RT 3010. No, imagine. I would be a little mad. But with that said, GT 1010. This is a graphics card I've been keeping an eye on for the last few days, just considering the strangeness of this graphics card. So this GPU is one that admittedly, according to basically every article out there, no one is interested in buying because this graphics card is not meant for graphical, for like graphically intensive workloads or gaming or anything like that.
Right.
It is just a graphics engine for computers that have processors that don't have integrated graphics.
Mm.
So in other words, it's just so that you can run your computer.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, yeah, all right.
Yeah, this graphics card has very minimal specs. I mean, we are talking 2 gigabytes of GDDR5 VRAM, and we are still talking about, again, Pascal architecture, which is from the 1000 series of GTX cards. So, at this point, it is almost 5 years old. Since the GTX 1080 and cards of the like came out in 2016. So this architecture is very much the last gen. And this is going to be a very cheap one. It appears that it's not even going to cost a full $100. So I guess this is pretty much the only graphics card that we should expect to see in stock anytime soon.
So I was going to ask, is this card going to be available to the buying public?
Yeah.
Why? No, because you're saying that this is a graphics card that is supposed to be for computers that do not have internal graphics in them.
Right.
So my question is, um, who would buy this with the intention of building a computer around it? Like this feels very much like for more casual consumers who are just into, surfing the web, answering emails, doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
In which case, most of those people are going to be buying pre-built machines.
That are cheaper.
They're going to be buying pre-built machines. They're not going to, you know, build their own PC and then put a 1010 in it. They're not going to know that stuff.
Right. It's not going to be worth it, especially if you're being a good boy and paying like the 140 for Windows 10 Home. Like that's already going to take up probably a good chunk of that pre-built PC that you're looking at, which is probably $300 or something along the lines. Maybe you're just getting like a cheapo Windows 10 laptop at Best Buy to do everything that this graphics card would allow you to do. And I mean, if you're going to be building a PC exactly as you said, it doesn't make sense that you would get something like this.
I'm just trying to figure out sort of the target demographic here. It's like I feel like
The only the only actual use that I can think of for something like this is if I wanted to do like a tutorial of like how to build a PC in the cheapest way possible.
can
That's it.
you stack these?
No.
No,
Definitely not. No. These there's no multi GPU support for this.
you can because if you could like stack 4 1010s, then you'd probably equal the power of, I don't know, like a 2060, 2070 or something.
No.
Not even.
Definitely not. No, 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 no.
I'm talking about rendering power.
Not even in terms of rendering power at all. This, I mean, you might get maybe at best like 750.
Hmm.
Yeah, like I have zero expectations for this graphics card just based off of the specs. I mean, 2 gigs of GDDR5 memory. That's very much just super underwhelming. And now clearly this kind of graphics card isn't for people like us.
Well, yeah, no, it's not for us, but
yeah.
who is it for? Again, if it's for more casual people like grandmas or regular generic office workers, they're not going to be building their own computers. They're going to be buying pre-built machines at a local Best Buy using Geek Squad. That's not,
I could just imagine like my grandma buying one of these and saying, "I'm going to upgrade my PC today."
yeah. Can I run Crisis? Honestly, with how old the game is, I feel like you should be able to run Crisis at like the lowest settings with this thing.
Again, I would say that's putting this graphics card on quite the pedestal there.
Is it?
I think so. Yeah, this graphics card does not look promising at all.
So there you go. If we're talking about gaming support, you get maybe Windows Solitaire, some Minesweeper, and then once again, you're talking about a market who usually buys pre-built.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of this thing is going to have use for is for those pre-builds to be lower in price because it is using this card. In which case, why are you selling it separately to the general public? Because the people who are going to be buying this card are buying it as part of a pre-build.
Is this like trick people into thinking that PC game or that like PC building is a lot cheaper than it actually is or something?
I hope not. I really hope not.
This is just insane. So this has a DVI port and an HDMI port. That's about it. This looks a lot more like a capture card than an actual graphics card to me. Just based on the looks here, it has like one tiny fan. It is just meant to be a super toned down graphics card that I can't think of any genuine consumer or market for this.
I cannot. I do not see the practical use for this for anybody. Again, if we're talking about in pre-built machines or whatever, fine. But we're talking about like on consumer shelves as a separate object to purchase at like a micro center. I do not see any market for this.
Right.
I do not see someone walking up to the micro center and being like 11010, please.
Please, I'm trying to build a killer internet browsing PC.
I don't see it. I genuinely do not see it.
I don't either. I don't understand really the point of this. Now, yeah, like exactly as you said, it doesn't make any sense to have this unless it was made specifically to only go inside of pre-built PCs. Which, in that case, sure. I mean, I totally get it
It could also
because
just be a trolling thing from Nvidia, honest to God. It's like, oh, can't get any graphics cards in stocks because of
haven't they done enough to us?
but like, here's some graphics cards. Look, we have graphics cards in stock, guys.
Yeah, you see, it's right here, and it's brand new. It's a 2021 card. It's our latest.
I would say it's like I want the new Nvidia graphics card. We have the new Nvidia graphics card at home. The
Yeah.
graphics card at home.
Oh gosh. Jesus. Nvidia. Just, uh, just bring us more stock of the RTX cards, and we'll be fine. Okay.
Pour one out over here for the video.
Yeah. Here's a.
I feel like we're sounding very elitist right now. They're not appealing to our market. Where's that 3000? I don't want to do that. I don't want to sound pretentious or like a PC master race kind of person, but like
Right. That's not the intention.
I just do not understand the practical use of this because most people who are going to want something around this power level are just going to probably buy pre-built machines
Mm-hmm.
or in many other cases laptops and notebooks that are using Intel integrated graphics.
Right. And that just tends to be the case. Now, granted, even those laptops can be a little pricey, but they do make like really plasticky
Well, we also have
$300
we also have the
laptops.
Chromebooks, which we will get to later.
Yes.
If you want to get to it now,
Yes, and we'll get to that now.
okay.
Since we are on the topic of computers, so as we discussed just a little bit ago, uh, there are going to be some Chromebooks releasing from Asus and from Samsung as well. And as most people already know, the entire purpose of Chromebooks are just, web browsing machines. They are supposed to be very low power machines that actually don't get any viruses, for one. So that's one pretty big benefit of it because you can't really download anything on there that isn't already curated by the App Store on
Chrome
the
OS.
Chromebooks. Yes, for Chrome OS. So it is very well protected. Like a Chromebook is going to be for your grandma, your local grandma.
Honestly, when I think about Chromebooks and their uses, I usually actually think of college students, namely college students whose majors usually focus around written reports, for example. Like I can see Chromebooks being a great budget option for people, like say for example a law student who's already paying so much money for law school and don't really need super high tech stuff to be able to write their dissertations, for example.
I get that.
You know,
However, I'm going to speak for a lot of us, like within our age group and maybe just a little bit lower, like let's just say 18 and up,
okay,
right? That
1825.
yeah, 18 to 25, that like going to college, regardless of your major, you might get a Chromebook now. Eventually, probably pretty soon, you're going to find yourself wanting to get something else that will let you do normal computer stuff.
More often than not, though, for a lot of casual consumers, they're not going to think, "Oh, I'm tired of this Chromebook. Let me go to, an Acer laptop or something more high tech or something, or even a desktop PC." They're not going to look at it like that. They're going to think, "Okay, let me just get an iPad,
Yeah, actually,
an iPad with a magic computer, a magic keyboard." Excuse me.
a magic computer.
Yes, an iPad with a magic keyboard. That they're not like you have to consider that they're not jumping from Chromebook to something higher tech. Someone who wants something higher tech is going like us. We're just going to go to the higher tech item to begin with. Casual people who just need the thing so they can browse the web, use social media, and then maybe write papers.
Yeah.
They're just going to look for the cheaper options. And if they want to go for something that's a little bit better than a Chromebook, it's just going to be like a tablet, like an iPad or a Samsung Galaxy tablet.
A couple of years ago, it used to be more so that people would just ditch their Chromebooks to get a MacBook Air.
That too.
Yeah, but that was like a couple of years ago. Nowadays, iPads are definitely a much better option. I mean, I use an iPad not so much on the daily anymore, but back when I was commuting to school back and forth, which was literally just last year. Feels like it was so long ago. I mean, I was using my iPad pretty much all of the time to try and get work done. I could edit videos on it, edit photos, animate on it. I could do just about anything on there, and a Chromebook wouldn't be capable of any of that stuff, really.
Of course, and you also have to consider that as well that we're artists.
Yeah,
So, an iPad has a lot more functionality for artists than a Chromebook would.
right. However, there is still that desire that I found from people, like back when we were in school. I actually recall specifically one time, this one girl just walked up to me randomly in the library and said, "Hey, can you help me connect to the Wi-Fi on my laptop?" And I was like, "Sure. What kind of laptop do you have?" And she says, "It's a Chromebook." I'm like, "Chromebook? What is that?" And I look at it and I'm like, "Oh, geez, this is quite the complication." And it just turns out that at the time, considering that the Wi-Fi at that school, before you could actually log into it, you had to go through the school's uh, website first and then log in through there. That Chromebook wasn't capable of really doing that. At the very least, it didn't have that kind of support.
Right.
So her follow-up response when we figured out that we couldn't connect to the school Wi-Fi because of that process that we had to go through, she was like, but it's a Chromebook. They said that it could do everything." I felt so bad for her, but
It's
y-
the Chromebook. A Chromebook is extremely limited, no doubt about it. I'm
yes,
not gonna disagree there. It's extremely limited,
yeah.
but for a lot of people who want to use it for standard stuff,
Hmm.
it's going to work just fine. Again, same thing when it comes to college students. If you're in a major that mostly focuses on writing papers and doing research and stuff like that, it should do you just fine. You know, if you go higher up, if you need actual applications, or if you just go higher up into the ladder, like artists, for example, yeah, a
Hmm.
Chromebook is nothing, absolutely nothing. And I realize that we're here trashing Chromebook here, just as you're about to tell us some nice Chromebook news of upgrades.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I mean, at the end of the day, these Chromebooks are going to be just as capable as the ones from before.
a little bit more. But that's the thing. I remember too. I was looking into Chromebooks, way back when.
Hmm.
But yeah, the thing is, a lot of people have to keep in mind that Chromebooks are very much a budget option.
Yeah.
That's going, and being a budget option means you're gonna have a lot of limitations to it.
Yeah, but a lot of these limitations really come from the software.
Yeah,
It's not even like from a hardware standpoint.
no, it's Chrome OS. It's entirely Chrome OS.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the trade-off. You get a significantly cheaper device, but one that's also locked into a pretty limited ecosystem.
Yes. So, like if you're already pretty deep into that Google ecosystem, then you might find yourself being pretty happy with it. I mean, depending on what you need to do, of course, as you said.
Again, it's also just also being on like a very tight budget. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, I don't want to budget shame anybody because not everybody can afford certain
No,
things.
right.
So
Yeah.
if Chromebook is in fact the thing that can be that is if it's the one thing that they can afford, so they can do their schoolwork, whatever it may be, or even their actual work,
Mm-hmm.
you can do work on it. Then by all means, go for it. And of course, we do have some new specs from the new Chromebooks that are coming out now, aren't we?
Yes, in fact, some exciting specs. I'm just wondering how exactly these are going to be put to use. But hey, like if this will give people a snappier Chrome OS experience, then hey, like it could be worth it because for sure these are still going to be pretty cheap, like pretty affordable.
And they're also significantly more useful than a 1010.
Yes, because you're getting an entire computer at
Just
least.
covering the tracks, yeah. Just
Yeah.
covering our tracks here.
Hmm.
You can get certain Chromebooks for like 150, can't you? Like on sales? On
Uh,
sales.
on sales, yeah. Not that you should. Even if you are on a very tight budget, I wouldn't do it because you'll find yourself needing to upgrade
Right.
to even if it's just like a slightly higher end Chromebook, you'll find yourself needing to do so. These laptops are built to break
Mm,
at that price range because I mean, these companies have to try and make some money off of these Chromebooks after all.
right.
So, like if they're going to sell one for let's say $100, uh, it means that the components on there are absolute trash, absolute garbage. So please, like, if you're on a budget, I completely understand only having like so much money to spend on a computer. If you can try to raise that a little bit, and you'll have a much better experience.
Or also just wait for a sale as well on some of the more expensive models as well.
Yeah,
You
like
know,
just use your school computers if you have to.
we're heading towards, well, currently they kind of can't.
Yeah, never mind that.
They currently can't.
Very out of
The
touch
way
comment.
I'll look at it, the way I'll look at it is, President's Day is not too far away, so we're probably gonna have sales for like President's Day. Um, the big game, because technically the actual title is copyrighted. The big game is a couple weeks from now, and that's usually a TV sale kind of event. But who knows? Maybe Best Buy decides to be like, you know what, take some Chromebooks too. Get a free Chromebook with your Sony TV purchase. Who knows?
I would love a Sony TV, in fact.
In any case, there probably will be upcoming sales on certain Chromebooks.
Right, yeah. And well, Chromebooks, if anything, often do tend to go on sale. Like back when I worked at Best Buy, they would go on sale fairly often, even if
Right.
it wasn't like any kind of special holiday or anything like that.
Right. Anyway,
Yeah.
the specs.
The specs, yes.
The specs. We keep getting sidetracked. The specs.
Sorry. Yeah, so the specs, we are talking about 3000 series Ryzen CPUs for these, which, I mean, it's not like we're expecting I mean, maybe a Ryzen 3 at best for these, but there are such thing as higher end Chromebooks. I mean, we do have the Chromebooks that come directly from Google, for instance,
Right.
which are, I forgot exactly what they're called, but anyway, so Google has one that costs around, I think, $600 that has a Celeron processor, and then like it does go up from there.
See, at the point of $600, then I think you should just go for something else.
True.
See, then I think you should go for something. If you have $600 to throw around, then I think you should go for something else, like an iPad. Like the iPad Air is $600, or just a better laptop that has Windows on it.
Yeah, iPad Air with a third-party keyboard though,
Right.
not Apple's Magic Keyboard, because then oh, Jesus,
Right.
I really don't like paying that much money for just a keyboard cover.
Mm.
It really sucks that we have keyboard covers over here that cost $300, and that's like the only good one for the iPad.
Right. Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah.
When it comes to the specs.
Getting ultra sidetracked. Sorry. So.
Oh man, about ultrabooks. Wrong one. That was the wrong one, but all right.
I mean, either way, thank you for celebrating my pun. So, yes, we are getting 3000 series Ryzen CPUs for these Chromebooks, which means that we should be getting a much snappier Chrome OS experience overall. And since these things are definitely more CPU based than anything, you don't need a powerful graphics engine by any means, since the most that you'll be doing on this that is graphically intensive is just playing Chrome OS games. Or maybe I actually don't know if there's like a version of Photoshop for like on the Chrome store or anything like that.
At the very least, it's going to be an equivalent.
Yeah, or maybe like Premiere Rush. I want to think. Actually, I can very much see Premiere Rush being like the perfect kind of application to have for a Chromebook or something like that. So, I mean, pairing a piece of software like that with a Chromebook with a 3000 series Ryzen CPU, I mean, that sounds pretty awesome. It sounds like you would be able to get even more work done with a Chromebook. I just think that Chromebook's potential hasn't really been tapped onto. I want to say. I'm not sure if that's the correct phrasing of what I'm trying to get at here, but yeah, I just think that the Chromebook has a lot of potential that hasn't been taken advantage of.
It's possible in the next 5 years, Chromebooks become a lot more commonplace as there's more app support added,
Yeah. Chrome OS has been a thing for a long time. It is just a matter of, like
slow burns.
Yeah, like some things take longer to cook up. And in this case, I think that it is Google's focus in general just to make Chrome OS as optimized as possible, like to make sure that it works really well, or that it does what it's meant to do really well. And yeah, and that's that. I mean, personally, if it were between a $300 Windows laptop and a $300 Chromebook, I would go with a $300 Chromebook.
Really?
Yeah, I would, because a $300 Windows laptop is going to be slow. A $300 Chromebook is going to be a lot snappier. It's just going to be a better experience overall.
Okay.
And at that point, if I'm getting a $300 laptop, a Windows laptop. I'm expecting to only be doing web browsing. I might download a couple of things here and there, but I wouldn't even download Photoshop onto it, you know?
It would just depend on what kind of apps you need for
Right.
it.
Right.
Like if you need Windows only apps, then you kind of have to get boxed into that. But
Well, not necessarily because you are running Chrome OS, so you do have Google Chrome on there. You could use Word Online. You know, that's still an option. And I think that there are still more Microsoft apps.
Microsoft apps isn't like say for example, let's say say your school decides to use this one random program to like grade your assignments or whatever, and it only runs on Windows or Mac OS, for example.
Oh,
Then
that
you're
would
in
be so
trouble
weird.
now.
Yeah.
That's a possible school thing.
Yeah.
You know, or same thing with work. You know, you have to use a certain app for work that only runs on Windows or Mac. You know, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, then now you know you have a problem if you're trying to use a Chromebook, and that's just the only real issue. That's why it depends on what it is. But otherwise, I agree with you.
Yeah. I think that Chromebooks, they have a lot of great potential here. They just need to continue to innovate in this regard. And I am very glad that we are coming out with more Chromebooks this year. But
Yes.
now on some other exciting news, something
Yes.
that we have both been keeping an eye on, I think.
Yes, this is a subject that we haven't actually talked about a whole lot on this podcast. I think we only talked about them maybe once or twice.
Maybe.
Nintendo.
Oh,
Nintendo.
gosh, that company.
So, Switch Pro. The rumors of a Nintendo Switch Pro
Yes.
have been mumbling about for a little bit, but have particularly increased in the last month or so. Specifically because data miners have done their usual data mining thing, and for some reason, Nintendo's always the one that gets data mined with this stuff.
Yeah.
You notice that? Nintendo is the one that's always getting data mined. And they've found possible references in code for a different model of a Switch, which the community has decided to sort of nickname the Switch Pro.
Yeah. I mean, it won't be a Lite. That's for sure.
We also know for a fact they're not going to call it a Switch Pro, though. It's going to be like the new Nintendo Switch Deluxe or something.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I hope to God Nintendo's naming conventions, you know how it is. It's not going to be a Switch Pro. That's a Sony move.
I mean,
relatively smart move from Sony.
Can't we just call it like a Switch XL or something? Why does it have to be the new Nintendo Switch? I mean, like, this is all speculation, obviously, but still, it makes me cringe a little.
There's been a lot of speculation as to what is there and stuff like that. But the two biggest things that people are looking at, the two biggest things that seem to be theorized, OLED screens.
Okay.
OLED screens and upscaled 4K resolution. Not native, upscaled.
OLED is likely to happen. Upscaled 4K. That sounds like it's highly.
I will say, if it's upscaled, I think it's a little bit more possible.
A little.
Because we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording.
Yeah.
If it's upscaled 4K, I think it's a bit more feasible, a little bit more possible. But native 4K, absolutely not.
No.
And even with the OLED screens, they're already saying that could jack the price up way higher. Because right now the Switch is $300.
Yeah.
The standard Switch is $300. And it's using, what is it, mini LCD, I believe? I think it is for a screen. LCD. It's using LCD, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like it's not even using an IPS panel.
It's using LCD with, of course, the resolution of 720p. So
games often, like in portable mode, they often run at lower resolutions than 720p as well.
Yeah, very dynamic resolutions, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you... No, actually, I'm thinking of Xbox, never mind. No, I was thinking of 900p as a number, but I remember that being Xbox One's thing.
No, yeah. It was pretty weird.
But, what's it called? So, OLED screens are still pretty expensive to manufacture, and to switch from an LCD screen to an OLED screen alone will raise the price up a decent bit. So we're talking about a $300 Switch that could possibly be priced up to maybe $400 with an OLED screen.
I think that's fine. I think that's fair. What I really
you have to be careful with that. You have to be careful.
Why?
Because the thing is, if you're talking about a Switch with an OLED screen, and we're talking about all this stuff, you're talking about a $400, possibly even $500 Switch. If we're talking about native, upscaled 4K, we don't even know, $450, whatever it may be. Once you start reaching that price point, now you're competing with the PS5 and Series X.
Yes.
Do you think Nintendo can compete with the PS5 and Series X?
No.
Exactly. The
Nintendo
Switch,
is a market of its own.
like, even with the PS5 and Series X launching and the massive numbers that they've both been making, the Switch is still the best-selling console, in part because it is seen as the budget, cheaper option.
Yeah.
And of course, the more, family-friendly one. But like, you can get a Switch Lite for what, 230, 250 or something like that?
A Switch Lite is just 200.
200.
Yeah.
A Switch Lite for 200 and the standard Switch for 300.
Mm-hmm.
You can get that, right off the bat.
Yeah.
What's ignoring the fact that PS5 and Series X have had their stock issues. The Switch is seen as the budget option. What do you do when you suddenly go way above that budget? Now you have to be offering better stuff. Now, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people out there who may come out of the woodworks or are screaming at their computer being, Nintendo games are better anyway. They got Breath of the Wild. They got Split. I don't disagree with you guys. Breath of the Wild is great. Smash Bros is probably my favorite game of the generation. No joke.
Wow.
I've always loved Smash Bros.
Fair enough.
Like, the Switch has a fantastic library. Way better than the Xbox One's library has been.
Oh, yeah,
And
definitely.
I would say either on par, possibly debatably even a little bit better than the PS4's. Although it's a very tough competition between the two. We're talking exclusive. We're not talking about the multi-platform stuff.
Right.
Like, so I'm like excluding, say, for example, Red Dead 2, I'm excluding that.
I
We're talking exclusives only.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, like when it comes to exclusives, I would personally still go with Sony because
Right.
I just prefer the exclusives on that platform versus the ones on Nintendo. Like Mario, casual fun.
It's an extremely tight competition. And it's going to come down to subjective, like, opinion as to like what you as a gamer prefer.
Yeah.
You know-
Though I also want to add that people tend to have the Switch as a maybe like a companion piece to a different console.
Always.
Yeah, like
Like-
it's not most people's main console. Is what
Exactly.
I want to say.
Well, most people-ish, but you also have a lot of Nintendo fans who are very much only Nintendo.
That's true.
They're exclusively Nintendo. You had a lot of people when Skyrim was announced for the Switch. You had a lot of people being like, "Wow, I can't wait to play Skyrim for the first time," because they are exclusively Nintendo and they did not touch the PS3 or 360. They were on the Wii and then the Wii U and now the Switch. You have those Nintendo diehards who are
Yeah.
very much in that ecosystem and in that ecosystem alone.
That's true.
The Switch has a very high attach rate compared to other consoles.
That yes. It is one of the easier consoles to accessorize also because like you have like cases, you have more Joy-Cons.
The portability also is just really a really big factor for games like Animal Crossing, for example. You can play Animal Crossing on the go.
Exactly.
That's a huge thing,
Exactly.
And-
Which is why I would love the Persona games to come to the Switch.
Absolutely. I really want that.
Mhm.
So as much as I feel like we were losing the point a little bit there, but so as much as the Switch has a lot of great games on it and stuff like that, you still have to compete with the next gen consoles. And I'm sorry, there's absolutely no way the Switch versus Switch Pro is going to be making so much of a graphical leap or performance leap that it can match with those consoles. Most PCs at that price point cannot match with those consoles right now.
Yeah.
Straight up, none of them actually. No PC
Mhm.
for $500 is going to match what a PS5 or Series X can do.
Right.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me that a Switch can do that?
No.
No.
There's no way.
So once you put a Switch at $400-$500, you're basically saying, okay, this is a lesser console.
Mhm.
Why should I get this? Now there are reasons for it. Portability is a big one.
Yeah.
You can take it on the go. The Nintendo exclusives, which is basically the reason for buying any Nintendo console. You buy it for the exclusives.
Yeah.
But for a lot of casual consumers, that may not necessarily, it just doesn't line up as well. And this is not even going into the fact that the online service is abysmal.
Yeah.
This is not even getting into that.
Yeah. When people were asking for a virtual console, they were like, instead of virtual console, how about we just tie this super old library of games to the online service, and you have to like go online every once in a while to be able to keep accessing these games because it needs to verify that you're still in fact paying for the service.
Call me picky, but honestly, I'm perfectly fine with the virtual console being tied to Nintendo Switch Online because frankly, I was never going to buy those virtual console games myself. I do not believe games that are 30, possibly now approaching 40 years old, should be $5 per. I do not believe so.
I agree.
I do not believe that.
It would be a tough sell.
I am
individually.
fine with those games being on the online service. What I do want, however, is for the games to be better.
Yes.
Like, I do not. You have PS Plus
Mhm.
giving away games. Like, what's the big PS Plus game that's being given away right now this month? Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Oh, wow.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider
That's a pretty big deal.
and Greedfall.
Mhm.
Then on Xbox Games with Gold, I don't actually remember, but they were giving away some pretty big games too, Assassin's Creed, all that stuff.
Got it.
These are modern games.
Yeah.
But Nintendo Switch Online is like, how about you get boxing for the Nintendo Entertainment System? Not even
Oh,
Punch Out.
Jesus.
Although Punch Out is there, but standard boxing or standard baseball, whatever. Like, I would have liked it if they were giving us some of those, launch titles from the Switch. Give us snipper clips or something. Give
Mhm.
us, I'm gonna say ARMS because I know they probably don't want to give up ARMS, but you know what I mean. Like, give up some of those other titles.
Honestly,
Or
I do think that ARM should be free to play.
yes, or if you have to say, okay, no, we don't want to give away Switch titles. We want it to be like Virtual Console, GameCube,
That would be great. The
Nintendo
Switch can
64.
definitely run it. Yeah.
Nintendo 64,
And
GameCube,
I think
the
that
Wii.
they are.
Joy-Cons are motion controlled. The
Mhm.
Wii.
I think that they are working up to getting to 64 and then to GameCube eventually.
I don't know about that because they added the Super Nintendo support a while ago and they haven't done anything since. They barely add games now. It's like maybe 1 or 2 games every 1 or 2 months.
That's also true. My thing is that, like I would also feel better about the service if they added more bangers from the SNES era, like Final Fantasy VI, for instance. That would be
That's right.
a
There's no
cool
Final
thing.
Fantasy games on there, is there?
None. No.
They do have RPGs, but not Final Fantasy.
Yeah. So to me, gone.
No Earthbound
Dunzo.
either.
No.
They should have Earthbound.
There's nothing for me. I mean they have like some of the older, like Mario Kart games. I'm like, but I already have Mario Kart 8. Why would I want to play this way older one that looks way worse?
Right.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Of course, it's nostalgia, but in any case, like I feel like
You know what? That's precisely it.
if you're going to be offering, granted, of course, people are going to argue in the comments. Nintendo Switch Online is a lot cheaper. It's $20 a year. But I don't know about you, but I'm willing to actually pay a little bit more if it means that the quality of games being given to us or the quality of the online itself is actually like decent.
I'm on board with you there, yeah.
I mean, I'm inherently against paying for online,
Mhm.
but if I'm going to pay for online, make it worth my while. And right now, it's not worth my while.
For the Switch, no. No, not at all. I actually did like when I was only on the PlayStation 4, I was not paying for online at all. Because I don't really play games online.
Right.
And frankly, I would rather just buy the games that I want outright rather than paying a subscription to, hopefully get some of the games that are being offered by the service. But I just didn't really see that much value in it.
Right.
But when I got the PlayStation 5, I did start paying for it, and then I saw, oh, wow, there's Bloodborne there. I can download that right away. Horizon Zero Dawn, which I've been wanting to play for a while. I can just download that.
Right.
They're just being offered by the service.
Of course.
So, all of a sudden, those $60 a year start sounding way better than the $20 a year that you would be paying for Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly. But of course, we did get sidetracked quite a bit.
We did.
The Switch Pro itself, do you think it's something that will actually exist and come out this year? Especially with the, again, OLED screen, upscaled 4K.
I don't think upscale 4K is going to be a thing. Hell, I don't even think that OLED is going to be a thing. But
I can see OLED. I mean, one benefit of OLED, as reported by Game Rant, is that OLED would actually save battery life because the darker blacks means that it doesn't use as much power on the screen.
right. And I mean, there are definitely a lot of benefits to OLED. I mean, on the Vita, for instance, that console would last me an eternity. Like
The Vita was good. So
yes,
good.
I could play for like a few hours and just put it to sleep, not touch it for 2 weeks, and then just get back into it. Mind you, in sleep mode, not even turned off the entire time with the game still running. So like something like that would be amazing. even if it did come with a price hike. Though I do think that if they gave us a better dock, maybe a dock that is actually more capable,
Mm.
we could actually get much nicer performance out of the Switch. I don't know about upscale 4K still. I'm still very doubtful about that or skeptical. But I think that if they just focus on 1080p 60 for most games, then I would be happy there.
Of course. And we do have to talk about this some more on the next episode because
Yeah.
it does seem like we are starting to run a little bit low on time here. And there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the idea of a Switch Pro. And clearly, we've ranted a lot about Nintendo stuff. So there's a lot to say. But for this episode, we do need to conclude. So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you guys are watching here on YouTube, we have the social media right down here at the bottom of the video. If you guys are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts, we have that stuff in the respective descriptions.
Of course. And now, with that said, I want to talk about next time, but this has been Francisco.
And Chris,
Until next time, enjoy.
good night. Travel well.